is Esther Wachukwuembi. President Tinubu reveals details of meeting with traditional rulers. President Tinubu Kwankwaso meet at Aso Rock. Articles witness tells court presidential election was well conducted. Details now. The World News at 6 begins with the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress asking the National Industrial Court Abuja to set aside its interim order that barred the unions from embarking on their planned strike in protest of the fuel subsidy removal by the federal government. The organized labor in a motion they filed through the lawyer Femi Falana, a senior advocate of Nigeria, averred that the case against it is liable to be struck out for want of jurisdiction and the ex parte order set aside. They maintain that the case by the FG against them before the NLC or the NIC was offensive to certain provisions of the Constitution and liable to be vacated. More so, the NLC and the TUC insisted that by virtue of Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, Nigerian workers have the fundamental right to protest against policies of the government considered inimical to their interests. Furthermore, they argue that the suit by the federal government did not disclose a reasonable course of action against them. In the meantime, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has revealed the details of his meeting with traditional leaders today. According to Abiodun Olatunjoye, Director of Information to the President, Tinubu speaking at the interactive session with the royal fathers under the aegis of the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria informed them of the decision of his government to remove fuel subsidy, improve security, create jobs and sustain the environment, as well as a forthcoming election of principal officers of the 10th National Assembly. Responding to issues raised by the traditional rulers on challenges facing the country, the president assured them, saying, "Worry not, because the country is in good hands." He added that his administration is very conscious of the expectations of Nigerians. On the decision to remove fuel subsidy, for which various speakers at the meeting expressed support, President Tinubu appealed to the traditional leaders to persuade Nigerians to have faith that fuel pump prices will eventually come down. On the leadership of the National Assembly, the president urged the royal fathers to counsel their subjects interested in elective positions on the need to manage their ambitions and create harmony within the legislative house. President Tinubu declared that he is ready to work with any elected representative from the National Assembly, stressing that the Nigeria project is paramount to him. Meanwhile, 3 witnesses called by Atiku Abubakar and his party, the People's Democratic Party, stated today that the exercise went well in the states where they served as election officials. Grace Ajagbona, Abidemi Joseph and Obosa Edosa, who testified before the Presidential Election Petition Court as petitioners subpoenaed witnesses, said they were ad hoc staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission and served as presiding officers in Kogi, Niger and Edo states. Led in evidence by petitioner's lawyer Chris Uche, Ajagbona, who featured as the 14th witness of the petitioners, adopted her written statement, which was admitted by the court after the respondents registered their objection to its admissibility and promised to give reasons at the final address stage. Under cross-examination by the lawyer to INEC, Abubakar Mahmood, Ajagbona said she accredited voters using the bimodal voter accreditation system device and complied with all the instructions as was handed to them during training. Ajagbona said all other aspects of the election process went smoothly except the transmission of the presidential election results. Now, in order for us to actually speak more about this, I have in the studio Mr. Elvis Elimehele, who is a political enthusiast and also a political commentator, as well as a social affairs commentator. Mr. Elvis, good evening and welcome to the World News at 6.
Good evening, Esther.
One would think that when you invite witnesses or when you have witnesses, the idea is to prove to, the court that these witnesses can actually speak on my behalf, that this was what was experienced at whatever it is I want them to testify for. In this case, witnesses in several polling units across the state, that this was what was experienced. But they stating that elections went well in all their polling units in the places they supervised, and they were presented as witnesses at the Election Petition Tribunal. How does that place Atiku Abubakar's petition, his case that he won, how does that place it?
Well, it's terrible, Esther. Actually, the witnesses are supposed to testify in favor of the party that called them to witness in the tribunal. But unfortunately, what we saw today is different from what we expected. But however, Esther, in Nigeria, anything can go for. What we are seeing is not different from what we are expecting. We have already seen a president has been sworn in.
Okay.
And Nigerians have almost all Nigerians have been talking about swearing in is not supposed to take place before inauguration. But however, we have found our constitution has said, let the president be sworn in while the case in the tribunal goes on. So most of these things can be adduced to probably the ruling party have started making inroads instead of poaching into the weaknesses that of the various political parties that are having cases against them in the tribunal. Don't be surprised we are going to see more of this, but I just hope that the political parties that are having cases against the ruling party in the tribunal put their house in order so that they'll be able to know that the witnesses they are calling are actually in favor of what they call them for and not against them.
All right, but the witnesses actually gave account of what transpired. They said all the party agents who were there were not meant to leave their post. So it means that the PDP party agent who was there did not leave their post. They did all the needful. The only difference was that the presidential election petition, the presidential, collation could not be uploaded via Beavers. That was the only issue they observed. But let's look at a scenario, for example, where we have the president actually soliciting for the support of most of the governors who have been elected, recently. That is the new governors who are coming in. And we had a particular Labour Party, would I say governor? Was it a governor or a senator? One of the legislators. One of the legislators gave a good remark after meeting President Muhammadu Buhari. What would you say to that?
Esther, it's common in this part of the world to cross carpet even at the flimsiest excuse.
But he's not cross-carpeting.
He was just giving Esther, something response. Is still building. There is still something building up. These guys have not even been inaugurated, The house has not been proclamated. And so after the proclamation, I am already seeing that some of the Labour Party legislators might betray Labour Party.
You think so?
Yes. From what I saw, the video I saw from that guy, the way he spoke, I'm already seeing a -1 from the Labour Party legislators. I think they are by 35.
Yes.
So I'm already seeing a -1. And I want to believe that Labour Party should do their homework so that their legislators will know the reason why they are in the house. They should not be like the other legislators we have ever known who gets to the house and jettison the political party that brought them into the house. We are looking at a new era, in Nigeria having a new era. And this new era must reflect in all ramifications. A situation where you get into the house, through a political party, and now think it is now time for you to align with the ruling party because you want to get into the committee. Some of they call it juicy committee in the house. It's not. Some parties should be able to leave at both.
You're saying there's a tendency that we'll begin to see different referrals and testimonies from the mouth of some of these elected, House of legislators who are in the Labour Party. It's possible that we may begin to hear that now.
Absolutely, it's very easy for Nigeria to jump the ship and go into the other political parties.
But one would think that what the Labour Party represents is something that will be different from any other thing.
That is what we are thinking, Nigerians are thinking. But is that the thinking of the politicians that you have voted into power? Politicians are always looking for their personal interests, not the interests of people that voted them. So we are going to see more of this. I just believe that Labour Party will be able to talk to some of them before the 4 years elapse. If the tribunal judgment does not go otherwise, you will see more of this that I just played out.
It's quite interesting. I think earlier we actually had a scenario that occurred, which was I think particularly yesterday. Yes, that's precisely yesterday. And one would actually think that, as the petition, as the election, the court process at the election petition tribunal is ongoing, we'll definitely see a lot of, developments come in play. And one of the situations that was observed was whereby the INEC, that is Independent National Electoral Commission, as well as APC, refusing to give the court an approval to interrogate INEC ICT officials. I need us to actually understand what the story is. So the Labour Party and Peter Obi, among other things, are seeking details, right, relating to the information and communication technology experts used by INEC in the conduct of the election. Now, in two separate motions argued by their lawyer, Patrick Ikweto, Obi posed 12 questions to be forwarded to INEC as part of efforts to support their petition, which questioned the integrity of the election. The petitioners averred that the interrogatory application, if acceded to, would assist them in solidifying their claims that the conduct of the election was flawed. But counsel to INEC, that is Kemi Pinheiro, objected to the move, that's one, on the grounds that the application was brought outside the time specified and allowed by the law. He also contended that moving the application outside the pre-hearing session had robbed the court of jurisdiction to hear it. Also, the counsel to President Tinubu and counsel to the APC, Lateef Fagbemi, opposed the request. And meanwhile, Haruna Samani reserved the ruling on the interrogatory applications by Obi and his party until today. Why would they refused for, why would, the APC, as well as in the Independent National Electoral Commission, refuse to let the court hear from the ICT officials, those who are very good, the ICT professionals, as to the viability of the results not being uploaded in real time in Beavers, just like INEC promised at the presidential elections. That was the only result that wasn't uploaded. INEC cited that there were glitches. That's one of the excuse they gave. Lai Mohammed, at some point in Washington when he was granting a press interview, said that INEC deliberately did not upload the presidential election tribunal because of cyber attacks. That was basically what Lai Mohammed said. So you have Lai Mohammed on one hand, it's making that statement that it was a deliberate, action from attempt by INEC. And INEC is saying there was a glitch. Now they brought in ICT experts who can actually verify to the court through their testimony if what INEC said is true, that only the presidential election results could not be uploaded. INEC refused, APC refused. So what do we read into this?
Esther, before the conduct of that 2023 general election, we heard that the head of ICT was transferred away from the headquarters to the eastern region. The person who has helped them to, put in place all the ICT unit and the organization, the working of the beavers, he was transferred and made an administrative staff in the eastern region. Nigerians complained about it, and INEC said it's a normal routine that transfer of staff can come at any time. That was the preparation for what was going to happen in the 2023 general election. They were able to transmit the National Assembly election, that's the Senate and the Rep, into the same IRF portal.
And it went real time.
It went real time, as they told us. But the presidential election that was also held the same day, completed and the same ballot paper, could not be transmitted. That's to tell you that something was wrong somewhere, deliberately. So what is happening? What Lai Mohammed said in Washington and what INEC is saying was common with Buhari's administration. The officials of Buhari's administration are good at double standards. So
let's look at this scenario. You brought an ICT personnel, someone who has the, would I call it, professional standing to describe the technicality of uploading results at the IRF portal, right? These are professionals. So why is INEC afraid? Why is the APC afraid of letting them describe the viability of that particular statement, whereby INEC chairman said there was a glitch that has not been explained? He did not tell us precisely, if possible, there were hackers. He did not tell us precisely why that particular result couldn't be uploaded. There was really no, he just said there was a technical glitch, specifically only for the presidential election, And then there is an ICT expert there to tell us, if possible, it can happen. Maybe there could be several reasons. Let me be the devil's advocate. It could be because there was a lot of data being uploaded. Exactly, the network was bad. There could have been several issues. Why not allow this particular ICT professional tell us precisely what could have happened? Why are they averring to him testifying?
Esther, the 2023 tribunal elections, electoral matters in the court is based on this ICT matter. If these ICT guys are allowed to pay the ball, Nigerians will know actually what went wrong. That is the reason why the lawyers are objecting them. Remember that this election was actually anchored on ICT. Was anchored on, Nigerians was looking at it that it was going to be technologically having a good innovation. But But along the line, something happened. The only persons that can tell you what actually transpired that day are these ICT experts.
Exactly.
If the lawyers allowed them to speak and spill the bean, Nigerians will actually know what happened. The tribunal will actually know what happened. That's why the lawyers are objecting them.
Why didn't Justice Samani decide? Okay, if there is nothing to hide, I mean, there are technical gurus, there are ICT gurus who can explain what that abnormally is, because that is basically where the contention is coming, and that is why you have speculations that there were some backhanded activities going on. If you say at November 2022 that results be uploaded real time, you promised Nigerians that the introduction of the Electoral Act, the upgrade or the update of the Electoral Act was for the betterment of everyone, whereby assuring us that our voting pattern will properly be counted. Now, on that particular day, considering how the whole entire situation has been, the atmosphere that has been, presidential election results could not go on. Now, you brought in ICT experts. We're just trying to logically contextualize this. Why refuse? If the APC and INEC, so the question now is, so is it that the APC and the Independent National Electoral Commission are in cahoots? Is INEC not meant to defend the results it announced? They're defending their own case. APC is defending the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually won and consider some other petitions brought in at the court frivolous. So the question is, why do you aver to the ICT professionals from describing the reason or giving us an expertise as to why results couldn't be uploaded real time on the beavers? They understand how the beavers technology is. They know what do you call it, where machinations are involved.
Yes.
So why deter them from actually talking about it?
Esther, you remember on the 26th of February, which was on the Sunday, I was in this studio. We were here for 3 hours analyzing while awaiting INEC to transmit the presidential result into the IRF portal. And we discussed this matter. The persons, the professionals that are supposed to tell Nigerians exactly what went on that day are the ones that the lawyers are objecting now. But I will remind the Labour Party lawyers, the legal team of Labour Party, this is the time for them to do their job. They have to object it so that Nigerians could actually know exactly what happened on that day, why the result could not be transmitted in real time, as INEC told us. And even though the result was not transmitted on the 1st of March, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared. Even while results will still be transmitted into the IRF portal. Even till today, we have been told that not all the results from Nigeria have even arrived at the IRF portal. So now, the Labour Party lawyers, this is where they have their job to do. This is because the bone of contention is actually lying on this ICT technology that failed on that day. A
technology that was promised.
That would promise Nigeria, the whole world. Remember, he was in Chatham House and told the whole world in Chatham House. I'm talking about Mahmoud Yakub, the INEC chairman, was in Chatham House and told the whole world that Nigerian election for 2023 was going to be based on technology, not as usual. But unfortunately, we were told that others legislative elections, that's the House of Rep and Senate, went into the IRF portal, but the presidential election.
Now, has this particular refusal from INEC and APC not given a backbone to the speculation that there was something underhand going on? Because if you need to prove to the people that you stand by what you declared, if APC is strong in its mandate, in its take on the fact that there was no shenanigan that went on, no courier of favor, no money was paid, there was no influence, why would they avert to it? I feel like if INEC had adverted to it, but the APC had said no, come in and tell us what you think, there was going to be a cross-examination. Your lawyers are competent to make sure that they ask the right questions that will make the ICT professional make sure that he says the truth, because you have high quality lawyers at the Election Petition Tribunal representing most of the political parties and their candidates. So if both of them are averring and refusing for that particular ICT professional to disclose and actually state what it could be or what it could have turned out, then have you not given word or given a voice to that silent speculation that something literally, deliberately went wrong?
That is what we want the senior advocates that are lined up by all the contenders of 2023 general election to prove before the tribunal and to prove before Nigerians. Because if something did not go wrong, that result of the presidential election would have been transmitted in real time as promised by INEC.
INEC.
That matter that went wrong, Nigerians want to know. And these IT experts who are going to tell Nigeria what actually went wrong must be given the freedom to be able to explain before the tribunal and Nigerians in general what went wrong, why others went in, and the presidential vote could not go in.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alvis, for being part of the World News this evening. I do appreciate you coming on. All right, now we'll go to the foreign stories where we have French President Emmanuel Macron saying he has heard positive news about the condition of child victims of Thursday's knife attack in INEC. Mr. Macron was visiting the town where 4 children were attacked. He said a young British girl had woken up after surgery. A suspect, a Syrian man with refugee status in Sweden, remains in custody and is due to undergo a psychiatric assessment. The 31-year-old is thought to have been living homeless in Annecy and recently had an asylum claim rejected. However, the terrorist motive is suspected. To wrap up the world news at 6 here again are the top stories. You heard that INEC APC opposed Labour Party's request to quiz IT experts. You also heard the information whereby Atiku's correspondence and President Tinubu revealing details of meeting with traditional rulers. Atiku's witness tells court presidential election was well conducted, and in stories outside the shores of Nigeria, toddlers are stable according to Emmanuel Macron, France's president. My name is Esther Nwachukwu, and that is a wrap on the world news at 6. To subscribe to social media handles at VOP 90.3 FM. Up next is the evening